I have a history of leaving you guys hanging with this series of videos. Here was my latest offense. Would that be an incentive to get 453?
Yes, but I would.
Okay. Spoiling my next video. That's right, this isn't the end of the road. That's a story for another day. The time has finally come. We talked previously about how 453 is almost possible. Then about how it actually is possible. And for today's video, we're gonna need to go a bit faster. 8 bits faster. 452 can happen in the future, and I mean like literally in the future. If we time travel from 1985 to 1993, we can make 452 happen in the 16-bit remake of this game, part of the Super Mario All-Stars collection on the Super Nintendo. Would that be an incentive to get 453?
Yes, but I would do it in All-Stars instead, because All-Stars is more fun.
Stick around to see how 452 is possible. Before we talk about 452, I need to tell you about Displate, the sponsor of today's video. Displates are metal posters, which makes them look awesome and easy to mount. By far my favorite thing about Displate is the huge variety of artwork that they have to choose from. I genuinely think everyone can find something on their website that they're interested in, whether it's just a cool piece of art or something from your favorite movie or video game. Once you've made your selection, it comes with everything you need to stick a magnet up, and that's it. No tools, no holes. And Displate has a new feature called Textra, which gives the art more texture and it looks really cool. You can get a good idea of what it'll look like with this 3D tool on their website. If you're interested in trying Displate, be sure to use the link in the description or use code COSMIC at checkout. You'll get 27% off one Displate and 37% off if you order 2 or more. Thank you to Displate for sponsoring this video. Alright, the first question you might be asking yourself, is the All-Stars version even that different? Yes. Just to explain a bit of what All-Stars is, in 1993 they released a collection of all 4 Mario games which originally had come out on the NES, but with upgraded visuals for the SNES. You might assume they kept the games exactly the same and only updated the visuals, or perhaps they built them again from the ground up. But the true answer is somewhere in between. All 4 games on here have mostly the same code and gameplay as the originals, but they also have their fair share of differences, including unique glitches. As far as SMB1 goes, let's start with the basic differences. There's obviously the different visuals, sound effects, and so on. You start with 5 lives instead of 3, and the game saves your progress. But there are real, tangible gameplay differences as well. The most infamous mechanical change is the physics when breaking bricks. In the original, Mario is sent downwards each time you break a brick, but on All-Stars, he's not. He gets some slight upwards momentum instead, and it's pretty annoying. It really kind of interrupts the flow of gameplay. And in speedrunning, it can be especially bad. This change doesn't affect us in the any % speedrun though, because we're Small Mario the whole time, and he can't break bricks. The most prominent gameplay difference that is going to affect this run though, is hitboxes. And most notably, Piranha Plants. Several enemies have changed hitboxes in this version, like Bowser for example. But Piranha Plants, they are the main cause for concern. All of those YouTube comments about how Mario should have died when he was jumping through the Piranha Plants, they're finally accurate with this version. We'll get into all the troubles that Piranha Plants cause us in the speedrun, but for now, let's list some more differences. Some enemies behave differently on this version. Podoboos, the jumping fireballs, jump super high, like way up past the ceiling. In most cases this is good, they're rarely ever in the way now. Also, you actually bounce a bit higher off of enemies. The difference isn't obvious unless you're extremely familiar with this game, but it is different and does affect the run a little bit. Speaking of enemies, this game has more sprite slots, so there are more of them. The Super Nintendo can handle more on the screen than the NES could, so they added more space and memory for sprites to load into, and now we're not limited to a maximum of 5 enemies on screen at a time. Some spots get a little trickier with more enemies crowding around, but the biggest issue from this is that Piranha Plants never despawn. They were missing in action constantly in the original game, but now we have to deal with every one, including the ones occupying pipes that we need to go in. These are just a few of the differences in the All-Stars remake, and that's just basic gameplay we're talking about. There's a lot more that becomes relevant in the speedrun, and there are even glitches unique to this version. So, alright, let's get down to business and talk about what makes this version faster than the NES version. Since we're focusing on unique aspects of the All-Stars speedrun, I won't be re-explaining concepts that were already present in the original game too much. You can watch this video by Bismuth for more info on the original run. Here we go! Let's break things down level by level. I'll explain the current world record, 455.7 by Nifsky, and what's going on in all 8 levels. Then, we'll go over what the path would look like to bring the time down even further, and get the first ever 453 in Super Mario Bros. On any version of the game. And finally, we'll look at how, with a perfect run, we could even see a 452. Okay, 1-1. This level itself isn't too different from the original. Nifsky runs through and takes this pipe as a shortcut. I'm not sure why Mario turns gray for a frame when going in pipes in this version, but that's fun. Moving on, Nifsky jumps cleanly through the underground, and then he does a flagpole glitch. Yes, flagpole glitch still works. Most of the time. There's some more about this level I'll touch on later, but for now, let's move on to 1-2. Here's where we really start to see some gameplay differences. Halfway through, we meet our first piranha plants. The only way past here without slowing down is jumping off the edges of the pipes. That's going to be a lot harder now thanks to the bigger piranha plant hitboxes. Pipe jumps in the original are a 2, sometimes 3 frame window, assuming you land as far left as you can. But in this version, they're a 1, sometimes 2 frame window. That's scary. But don't worry, there will be plenty more piranha plants after these ones. So for this spot specifically, there are 2 frames you can jump and clear the piranha plant. But if you jump on the first one, you'll die to the next piranha plant. We have to jump on the second frame here. And jumping from this spot also means you only have 1 frame to jump off the next pipe before falling off of it. Getting through this section at full speed is double frame perfect. And we have to get through this section at full speed so that the next trick will work. If we haven't slowed down at all, we'll be set up for this wall clip. This is the same clip that's done on the NES version through the corner of this pipe to reach the warp zone faster. What comes next is not the same though. The strategy for the original run is to jump halfway through the warp zone, rebound off of this pipe, and swing back to the World 4 warp pipe. You have to scroll the screen far enough to fully load the warp zone, or else you'll encounter the famous minus world glitch. Not exactly where we're trying to go right now. Here's the strategy for the All-Stars version. Yep, they patched it. There is no way to access the minus world on this version, which is actually huge as far as the speedrun is concerned. Nifsky hesitates just a tad after clipping in the pipe for the plant to go down more. But other than that, he can pretty much just go straight into the warp pipe and save around 2 seconds over the NES version. This is one of the biggest differences in the run. And yeah, he does still touch the piranha plant, and it looks like he should die, but I've talked previously about how entering a pipe takes precedence over dying, which lets you go in sooner than you would otherwise be able to. This actually wouldn't even be a close call with the NES piranha plant hitboxes, but here, it's cutting it pretty close. Alright, on to World 4, starting with 4-1. This is usually a really easy stage. You just jump over the piranha plants and easily do the whole level at full speed. But once again, we can't do that on this version. We have to do pipe jumps. The first one can have a 2 frame window to clear the piranha plant, but the second one is frame perfect. And again, that's only if you jump perfectly to the left edge of the pipe. So really, this second one is double frame perfect. Once we're past there, it's smooth sailing to the flagpole. Wait, did you see that? Mario grabbed the right side of the pole. Why did he do that? It definitely saved time. We didn't have to wait for him to flip over to the other side after he got to the bottom. But yeah, how does this work? This is a cool new glitch in this run. You'd probably guess it has to do with some special inputs you have to do when grabbing the flagpole, or maybe you need to go at it with some really precise positioning. Nope. It happens because of the mushroom. It sounds weird, but that's how this game goes sometimes. Here's what's going on. If a climbable object is near the left side of the screen, Mario is forced to climb on the right side of it. They didn't want you to be able to switch to the left side because Mario would go off screen and maybe even wrap around to the other side of the screen. In fact, that's something you can do in certain spots in this game. But yeah, basically, if a climbable object is close to the left edge of the screen, you'll always grab the right side of it. But when they were porting this game over to the Super Nintendo, it looks like something went wrong here. Instead of checking if Mario is too close to the left edge of the screen, it checks if any power-ups are near the left side of the screen. I don't know if they were trying to fix some other bug, but yeah, they definitely made a mistake and introduced a new bug. This bug was only present in the Japanese version of the game, and was fixed in later releases. Thanks to this new bug, we can save some time on a lot of the flagpoles. This usually involves hitting power-ups as we're running through the levels, and after they go off screen, their position value stays in memory. Once we reach the flag, it runs the check to see if the power-up, is near the left edge of the screen. Certain power-ups will produce values which qualify as being near the left edge, and that means Mario's not allowed to grab the left side of the pole. In 4-1 specifically, Nifsky hits this mushroom to set up the glitch, which, hitting this block without falling in the hole, is a 2-frame window. But yeah, this is a cool trick, and we'll be seeing this some more throughout the run. Thank you to Simplistic for figuring out how this works and explaining it to us. Okay, time for the most infamous level in Super Mario Bros. The strategy for this level is a lot different here. As if there weren't already enough different strategies you can employ to do the infamous 4-2 wrong warp, we have to use yet another one on the All-Stars version. Here's the deal, we need to go down this pipe for the wrong warp, but the plant is in the way. We can't despawn it like you can on the NES version. The wrong warp is done by getting Mario closer to the right side of the screen, and there's a bunch of various ways to do that. Usually some kind of wall clip or bumping into walls. We want to go with a method here that kills 2 birds with 1 stone. We want to spend the time bumping Mario over, while also waiting for the plant to go down. The usual strategies do bumps or clips earlier in the level, not close to the Piranha Plant, so they're not going to work for us. Instead, we're going to clip right here. Nifsky clips in this pipe and lets Mario get pushed to the right, all while the Piranha Plant is loaded in already. Now, he can jump out of here and go down the wrong warp pipe. Very nice. In order to do this clip, you need to jump as close to the pipe as you can without bonking into it, and then jump at the perfect height. This means jumping with frame-perfect timing, and releasing the jump with frame-perfect timing. Not easy to do, but Nifsky apparently gets it 75% of the time.
I am at 75% with that.
Alright, that's it for 4-2, on to World 8. Normally 8-1 is a really hard stage because it requires 3 pipe jumps. Well, now it requires 5. Because you can't jump clean over the plants, we have to do some additional pipe jumps here. A few of these would normally be frame perfect, but Nifsky holds down when landing on the first pipe to lose a tiny bit of speed. That makes Mario a little bit farther to the left when arriving at each Piranha Plant, so he's slightly farther away from them and now has a 2-frame window to pipe jump. After making it past 4 pipe jumps, we run into a problem though. There's these 3 Goombas. On the NES version, we can despawn one of them and get past this part easily, but they'll all show up every time on SNES. The only way through without slowing down is a frame-perfect jump right before the first Goomba. For now though, Nifsky had a little bit of time to spare to get the frame rule he was aiming for, so he just jumped behind them and slowed down a little bit to avoid the wall. Moving on, there's 1 pipe jump still left in this stage, and Nifsky does a frame-perfect jump to get past it. This next part is a little awkward. A lot more enemies spawn here than usual. We land on this Buzzy Beetle, and then the higher enemy bounce physics come into play. Mario bounces on several enemies and ends up pretty close to this Goomba, and there's not a lot of time to jump after you land. It's actually really easy to die right here, but if you make the jump, you're in good shape. There's just one more kind of tight jump past the last Piranha Plant, and then we're home free. You'll notice Mario grabs the right side of the flagpole again here. This time, it was thanks to hitting this star block. The star's coordinates when it goes off screen once again make the game think that Mario shouldn't be allowed to grab the left side of the flagpole. I find this really satisfying every time. Next up is 8-2. This level isn't too different other than the jump over this Piranha Plant. It's a lot tighter, and you have to really precisely jump off the lip of the pipe. As he gets near the end, Nifsky slows down a tiny bit during his jump to the flag, to make sure he finishes the stage with 342 on the timer, instead of 343. Finishing with 343 would make 3 fireworks go off at the end of the level, and that would waste time. You will once again see that Mario grabbed the right side of the flagpole. This time, it was thanks to... nothing? Like, Actually nothing. We didn't hit any power-ups in this stage or anything. Turns out, they kinda messed up some other parts of the code too, so the game will think certain flagpoles are too close to the left side of the screen, even without a power-up to help us out. I mean, we'll take it. No complaints here. Moving on to 8-3, this level's not too bad. He does a little slowdown here, which lets him jump straight over this plant without having to do a frame-perfect pipe jump. This slowdown is okay, because this is another stage where we would get fireworks if we went as fast as possible, so we need to slow down at some point anyway. In fact, this slowdown alone isn't going to be enough to dodge the fireworks. But don't worry, we have another trick coming right up. Nifsky hits this block to make a mushroom come out. He needs to slow down and let it come out of the block more though, so it will be in a good position when it goes off screen, and trigger Mario to grab the right side of the flagpole once again. We managed to do this glitch on 4 out of the 5 flagpoles in the run. Alright, one stage left. This one's broken up into several rooms, and each one has some differences compared to the original. In the first room, we have this clown in the way. Get out of here, we're trying to speedrun. The funny thing is, normally it would get out of here. It just phases out of existence on the NES version. Most rooms in this stage loop infinitely, and whenever the loop happens, all the enemies get unloaded. The loop trigger in room 1 is right before the piranha plant, so it always just disappears and won't hurt you. On All Stars, they moved the loop trigger back here, probably so this behavior wouldn't be as obvious and it wouldn't look quite as glitchy. But that means we have to wait on this guy. We'll have the same thing going on here as we did earlier in the warp zone, where you can go straight through the plant for a frame or two and get in the pipe without dying. Nifsky makes sure to jump up high, so he's falling faster and can travel further through the plant each frame. In room 2, we have the classic frame-perfect jump to get past this pipe at full speed. Now, on the next part, you can have 2 different things happen on the NES version. You can either have 1 Koopa and a piranha plant, or 2 Koopas and no piranha plant. But on All Stars, we have all 3 enemies, which makes this part hard. The best way past here is doing a super jump off of the Koopa by bouncing off of it while moving upwards. To get enough height, this jump has to be frame perfect. You can do it from the left side, which looks pretty natural, but you also can do it from the right side. It looks super weird. It's the same difficulty either way, so Nifsky picked this one just because it looks cooler. Next up is the wall jump onto this pipe. We have a plant in our way again, which is annoying, but it still saves time to wall jump up here and then jump in once the coast is clear. In room 3, we thankfully don't have to wait on another piranha plant. The wrong warp in this room still works. We scroll the screen far enough to load the next pipe and then double back into this one to make it to the water section faster. Nifsky actually scrolled the screen to the first pixel that makes the wrong warp happen. 1 pixel less, and the run would have been dead in the water. Or, not in the water? I don't know. Anyway, the water section! You wouldn't think there'd be much to talk about here, but it is a fair amount different and more awkward. And that's pretty much entirely because of this blooper. In the original, he always swims to the left and doesn't get in the way. But here, he goes right. Right in the way, that is. Honestly, I have no idea why it's different on this version. But yeah, he's in the way, so you either have to go up high and touch down under the fire bar, which loses some frames, or you can swim a harder route around him and under the fire bar if you want to be optimal. And then these other 2 bloopers are a little scarier as well. But once past them, we've made it to the final room. This part's not really different. The Hammer Bro and the Podoboo can be a little different, but you just run through here and jump past Bowser all the same. And that's it! The Super Mario All-Stars version in 455. I'm sure we can all agree that that run was insane. I said the words frame perfect plenty of times throughout it. But it's still currently a little over a second slower than the NES record. Why exactly? One partial reason is that this version is slightly less optimized. Not that it's unoptimized, that was a very optimized run. It's just had less time put in than the NES version, and it'll for sure go lower as people dedicate more time to it. Another reason is that this version is harder. You have to deal with the bigger hitboxes, the extra enemy spawning, and perform some extra tricks and glitches. But at the same time, there are those extra tricks and time saves, so you'd think it would be faster. The minus world being gone saves almost 2 seconds. We didn't see Nifsky do flagpole glitch in a few stages, or a bullet bill glitch in 8-2. but Mario grabs the right side of the flagpole in most stages, which pretty much makes up for all of that. I feel like this run should actually be ahead of the NES version. And it is, by almost 3 seconds at the start of 8-4. Isn't that shocking, almost? I was surprised to learn that. How does he go from 3 seconds ahead to 1 second behind? It must be waiting on the piranha plants. Well, actually, those plants only cost about half a second each. So what's going on? There's some kind of mystery time loss going on. Alright, it's time to pull back the curtain. This game actually has way more time fluctuations than is immediately obvious. There are a lot of places where All-Stars is faster or slower when you're not even in control of Mario. First of all, this fade out and fade in transition is about 0.75 slower. That adds up to almost 6 seconds throughout the run with all of the pipes we have to go in. Wow. Now it's a wonder how All-Stars is even this close. Well, let's keep going. When you go in a horizontal pipe, the transition actually begins sooner. This includes the pipe in the underground in 1-1, and even the pipes in the cutscenes before 1-2 and 4-2. You can see it starts the transition way sooner after Mario goes in the pipe. But wait, there's more! The end of level transitions vary a lot as well. Instead of going straight into the castle, Mario does this victory pose before walking in. This delays the timer countdown by quite a bit. But the black screen between levels is shorter, so that makes up for a lot of the time lost from Mario's victory pose. And there's no slow victory pose when taking a warp pipe, so All-Stars makes up time there, and on 8-3 he goes in the middle door instead of the first door, but they put the castle a lot closer to the flagpole on All-Stars, so he actually ends up walking less distance, and there's a long list of differences like this. But it actually all comes out as kind of a wash in the end. If we start watching from the end of 4-1 to the start of 8-1, you can see there will be so many times where the lead flip-flops back and forth between them. This is pretty eye-opening to compare them side by side like this. It's actually insane how many differences there are in cutscenes and transitions. But maybe even crazier that it all comes out so close in the end. And the real differences in the runtime just come down to what tricks and strategies are possible. So basically ignore everything I just told you. I wanted to share these differences, but they actually come out pretty even when you take everything into account. All of that being said, let's discuss what additional strategies could be added into the run. Let's talk about how you can go even faster. And when I say even faster, I mean even faster than the NES version. This is the road to 453, and even 452. We can start with the most obvious thing. Flagpole glitch. We saw Nifsky use it in 1-1, but not on any of the other flagpoles. An important detail to note is that the bug that makes Mario grab the right side of the pole still works when doing flagpole glitch. Combining the two together in 4-1 and 8-1 can save a frame rule each. And you can also do it in 8-2 to save a frame rule. But one thing that can't be done is bullet bill glitch. Well, I guess you can do it, it just soft locks the game. This is because, as opposed to the original game, which just waits for Mario to walk into a block before triggering the timer countdown, the All-Stars version is waiting specifically for Mario to reach the castle, so he can do his victory pose before walking inside. When you do bullet bill glitch, he never reaches the castle, so we're stuck here forever. It's a bit of a bummer, but we can't make use of this glitch in the speedrun. Anyway, adding these 3 flagpole glitches to the run would bring the world record into 454 territory. You can of course also do a flagpole glitch in 8-3, and this one is special. In general, skipping the flag animation saves a little more than a frame rule, but you have to invest some frames to clip into the block, so normally flagpole glitch can only ever save 1 frame rule. In 8-3, however, we have to waste some time to dodge the 3 fireworks anyway, so the time spent clipping into the block doesn't go to waste, and flagpole glitch can actually save 2 frame rules here. That would be another 0.7 seconds saved, and would put us in striking distance of a 453, which, of course, would be a huge deal, since it would be the first time any version of this game would be beaten that fast. But as big of a deal as that would be, it's theoretically possible to do something even bigger. 452. A couple years ago, Miniland spent time doing each stage as well as he could, and spliced it all together to show what a run of this game could theoretically look like. The theoretical time, 453.2. Even this demonstration didn't quite make it to 452. This is going to be really tough, but it is theoretically possible. Allow me to show you how. Let's go back through each stage one more time and discuss the fine details it takes to do each one perfectly. In 1-1, we already have the optimal frame rule, but not actually the optimal frame. This is going to be a little weird to explain, but I'll try my best. See, we have an unusual frame rule situation here. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the classic frame rule analogy where there's a bus between each level departing every 21 frames. And to get the fastest frame rule, you have to catch the earliest bus. Well, in the original game, there's also a bus that takes you from the title screen to the beginning of 1-1. This black screen transition will vary in length depending on when you press start, and because of this, you can only start the game every 21 frames. Basically, you get frame rule aligned at the start of the run, and you'll always have the same amount of time available each run to catch the earliest bus at the end of the level. Okay, here's where All-Stars is different. On All-Stars, there's no frame rule when starting the game. The transition is a fixed length every time, and you can start the game on any frame. There's still a bus cycle you gotta catch at the end of 1-1, but depending on when you push start, you can have more or less time to catch it. Here's an example to explain what this ultimately means for the speedrun. In the NES version, if you play a perfect 1-1, there are 20 frames to spare on the frame rule. You can't go any faster than that, and you wait around for the bus at the end of the level for 20 frames. But on All-Stars, you can spend those 20 frames waiting on the title screen instead, before timing has started. Then, you press start, play a perfect 1-1, and you'll just barely catch the frame rule bus with 0 frames to spare. Optimizing this version starts from the very first input on the title screen. Hopefully that made sense. I don't think it's that hard of a concept, but it is hard to put clearly into words for me. TLDR, there's no frame rule on the title screen when starting the run. Optimizing 1-1 comes down to pressing start at a good time, and then playing as fast as you can to still catch the optimal frame rule cycle. Alright, now that we made it through that explanation, let's move on to 1-2. Here, we once again have an unusual frame rule situation. Just like there's no frame rule on the title screen transition at the start of the run, there's no frame rule on the warp pipe transition at the end of 1-2. What this means is that 1-2 and 4-1 are combined, basically. There's no bus between these stages, but there's still an optimal bus cycle we need to catch at the end of 4-1. These two stages become joined together into one big level we have to optimize. And for the record, it's a very, very tight cycle we need to catch. We need to play these two stages basically perfectly. In 1-2, that means doing the wall clip and then waiting as little as possible for the piranha plant, so Mario just barely doesn't die to it. Then, you need to do a fast acceleration at the start of 4-1, plus a frame perfect jump onto this block to set your subpixels up for flagpole glitch, and then, of course, do the flagpole glitch. All of that on top of the other things like pipe jumps and hitting the mushroom block, and you'll get the 1-2 plus 4-1 frame rule with no time to spare. Whew. If that level wasn't a big enough doozy, just listen to 4-2. Well, really 4-2 and 8-1 together. We're going to warp again, so that means there's no frame rule at the end of 4-2, and it's combined with 8-1 for a big, super long frame rule cycle we have to catch. On the NES version, it's a huge deal that the latest world record finally got the TAS frame rule in 4-2. But he's actually 20 frames slower than the TAS. No one has ever actually come close to a perfect 4-2. We've just been able to go fast enough to catch the perfect 4-2 frame rule. I don't know if we ever would have matched the TAS in 4-2 if it required you to save every possible frame. Well, the way All-Stars works out, you have to do exactly that. For 4-2 and 8-1. You have to do a way, way harder 4-2 than has ever been done before, plus a harder 8-1 than has ever been done before. All to save a frame rule with 0 frames to spare. One key element in saving all the frames is of course going to be the fast acceleration trick. But there are some special fast accels that are never required to save frame rules in the NES version. We're going to need all of those here though. Alright, this is going to be pretty rapid fire, but I frankly don't have the time to break down every piece in detail. Here we go. We need a fast accel here to save 1 frame, perfect subpixels when bumping into this pipe, this wall jump, and perfect height and speed control so Mario goes in the pipe on the perfect frame and the screen doesn't scroll as he goes in. We need a double fast accel in the warp zone to accelerate 1 frame faster than even a regular fast accel. We have to do a special slowdown trick to optimally slow down, turn around, and fall down to the warp pipes. And after landing, we need 1 more acceleration trick to save a frame accelerating to the World 8 warp pipe. And then we need a double fast accel in 8-1, a perfect stage with frame perfect pipe jumps, the frame perfect jump past this Goomba, and top it all off with a perfect flagpole glitch. What do you say, guys? Think this will be in runs someday? Now, I've been skeptical in the past, but I've learned my lesson, and I know that people seem to pull off anything they want to in this game. But I don't know if anyone will bother trying. Doing this is way harder than doing a perfect run of the NES version. I mean, I guess we'll see. A perfect run of the All-Stars version clocks in at 452.5, so leaving this frame rule out, we can get a 452.88 at best. That leaves a few frames of wiggle room for 1-1 and 8-4, so if 452 ever does happen someday, I don't think it will be with this frame rule. Whew. Alright, moving on, 8-2 is next. For a perfect 8-2, we need to do flagpole glitch. So far, there's no setup for it. In Miniland's video, he just YOLOs it and hopes the stars align. It's really hard to precisely control Mario's positioning when you have to get past this pipe. I'm really not sure what setup you could make to get this flagpole glitch to be consistent. Hopefully someone will figure it out someday. For 8-3, a perfect stage means getting past this piranha plant at full speed, which is double frame perfect. Then, you have to slow down for the mushroom with a precise setup, so you don't slow down too much, and you're aligned to do a flagpole glitch at the end of the stage. And finally, that brings us to 8-4. If you've ever heard talks of perfect 8-4 in the NES version, you already know it's absurd. Backwards accel stuff all over the place. A perfect 8-4 has only been done a few times ever, on the NES version. A perfect 8-4 on All-Stars will be even harder. It's actually mostly the same thing, but with getting past the piranha plants perfectly as well. You need extremely precise jump heights, so you can make it past the plant, well, frankly, through the plant, as soon as possible. And the rest is, I guess we'll say standard perfect 8-4 outside of that. But yeah, man, all of that is the kind of stuff that it takes for 452. All of that while trying to perfectly time a start press so you lose the least amount of time waiting for the 1-1 frame rule. Honestly, I don't think 452 will happen. Not because people could never do it, I've been naive enough to think that in the past, but because I just don't think anyone will bother. This is harder than tying the tasks in the original game. I don't know if anyone will care to do it. If this was the only version of Super Mario Bros., sure. But as it stands, it's kind of a side category. I will say though, that if people put in the time, it is likely that this becomes faster than the NES version. Not the fastest version though. I have one more video up my sleeve. You know, it's funny how the version we all usually play is actually the slowest version. So far I've talked about how the PAL version is faster than NTSC. And today, we talked about how the SNES version is faster than NES. Well, I happen to know of one other version that's faster than all the rest. And in due time, I'll show you how we can go even lower. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And subscribe if you enjoyed.